Hi guys, this is Alona Dukes and this is my husband Steve Dukes.
Hello.
This is our first video together, serious video. Well, there's a lot of things that I wanted to ask you that may be beneficial to the viewers. Just correct me if I have a bad grammar because that's English is my second language.
You're spectacular.
Shut up. Okay, let's see. This video is dedicated to the people who are already met or talked to my husband Steve. This is a question and answer as personal questions about addictions. Okay, the number one question that I wrote here is, how many addictions you have? Addictions you have?
22.
22 addictions. Is it possible to have 22 addictions in one person?
Yeah, there is.
Really,
Yeah.
really. So, what is the strongest addiction you have?
For me, the first addiction I had to stop dealing with, I used to drink a lot, and I couldn't stop. And so I stopped that first. That's the rock bottom. That's the first entry level thing that I found I was addicted to. I come from a long line of alcoholics, 6 generations, and they were all alcoholics. And once I got to started drinking, I couldn't stop. So I had to deal with that first.
Oh, okay. How old are you that you start drinking?
I started drinking when I was 15.
15
I
years
stole my father's liquor out of his
Is
his
that
liquor cabinet.
well?
Me
Okay.
and my friend, Lady Wood.
But you never heard like AA?
No, I wouldn't hear from that until I was 27. AA was the first group of 12-steppers ever to start in June 10th of 1935. That was when the first recovery process began, first group.
But who introduces you with the AA?
Who introduced me? Well, I actually looked at the phone back before we had cell phones. We used to have something called Yellow Pages.
Oh.
And it was a phone book, and you'd look in here, and if you needed something, you'd look in there. This is before Google got invented. And there was a big, thick book like this. And people had advertisements, and you'd look inside. I looked in it, and I wanted to stop drinking. And so I found this number. It said, if you can't stop drinking, call this number.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I called.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How old are you when you do that?
When
you realize that oh my God, I can't stop drinking.
I was 26. and
26. So how many?
Yeah.
You started at 15 years
15.
old, and then 26. That's
11 years.
11 years of
That's
drinking.
right. That's right.
You already tried many times
To
to
stop.
stop it.
When I first started, I really liked drinking.
Okay.
It was a lot of fun. And I would just drink occasionally. And then I got to where I drank more, and then I got to where I drank a lot. And then I started to feel bad, because I was drinking too much, and I thought I would stop. And I found out I couldn't. I couldn't stop.
So how did you feel when you realized, oh my God, I couldn't stop?
I was scared to death. I was
Really?
Yeah, I was frightened, because it was making me feel real bad. I would be, when you drink a lot, you feel really hungover. And
Oh, I remember
Yeah.
one.
Alona, I took Alona to a bar one night, and we going to get her one beer, and she had 12 of them.
Oh no, not really.
It was
Well,
a lot of.
I guess
it was a
it's
lot
a
of
two,
beers,
but
but
it's
it was-
really like a picture.
Yeah, that's right. And it was the only time I ever saw Alona drink, and she was so sick. It was so sad.
Well, I don't have a hangover because
Because it just, you threw it all up.
I just
It wasn't in
drink
your
it all
bloodstream
and then
long
it's,
enough to have a hangover.
yeah.
It was awful. It was hard to watch. You could go to AA, or you could go to a treatment center, and then they would give you this medicine. So that every time you drink, you throw up.
Oh, that's so awful.
That sounds terrible. Taking drugs so you can not drink, that sounded really bad. And the other was to go into treatment, inpatient private treatment, which at the time was $7,000. Now it's like $40,000 or $50,000. But $7,000 was a lot of money back in 1980. And so I thought, I can't afford that. And AA said, we're free. I said, I'm in.
I mean,
I'm in. I'll join you.
okay, we're talking about your first meeting.
First
You don't have any idea what you're gonna,
No clue.
hear or say. What was your first
My
feeling?
My first feeling was, My first feeling was arrogance. I thought I was smarter than them because I saw on the wall that said you had to turn your life and will over to God. And I said to myself in my head, so, well, if you have, there is no God, and therefore if you have to believe a lie, I'm leaving. And so I thought, these people are stupid. And so I left, and I was gone for a year. And then it got worse, and I came back and I said, if you'll let me in, I'll sing in the choir.
All right.
So my arrogance got deflated pretty quickly that year.
Oh.
Yeah.
So it took 1 year
It took
to...
another year. I was very prideful and stiff-necked, as the Old Testament says. I was stiff-necked, and I wouldn't listen to anybody.
Oh,
And so I had to get humbled some more until I came back in, and then I joined up.
How many times in a week you go to the
I went to meetings 3 times a week. There were no Zoom meetings, and there was no online and no phone meetings. It was just in-person meetings.
Okay.
And so I had to walk across town. So I bought myself a big trench coat like Humphrey Bogart.
Okay.
And I bought some really long cigars and a hat so nobody would know me. And I smoked my cigars as I was going to and from to the meeting. Now I go 3 times a week.
Oh, 3 times a week.
For years.
About
This is
how?
Mrs. D.
Mrs. D, yeah. Alona D. I was asking before, the first question is how many addictions you have.
Right.
So 22.
That's a
The
lot of
question is, how did you deal with it? Like 22 is so much,
It is so much.
So how did you deal with it?
One at a time. One addiction at a time. I just dealt with alcohol first and got to where I felt really safe that I was never going to drink again, one day at a time, 3 hours at a time, as long as I maintained my fit spiritual condition. And then I started looking at the other ones.
Oh, okay.
Just one at a time.
So do you have a time frame for that 22 addictions, or you just like, it's just like this one kills me first?
This one kills me first.
The alcohol kills you first.
That's right.
So how long did you tackle that alcohol before you jump to the other one?
I was pretty slow.
Just give me a number.
I was 5.5 years I spent working just doing that.
Oh, okay,
That
okay.
was that occupied plenty of my time.
Oh, yeah.
And then the other things started kind of knock on my door.
Oh, all right.
Took a while.
So the alcohol first, like it fogs all the addictions.
That's right.
So
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
You can't see the other
Yeah, you
ones
cannot see the
while
other
you're still
ones.
messing with that one.
Oh, okay.
So I had to get that clear and stopped
Oh, okay.
before and then once that stopped,
Yeah.
I started looking around saying, you're smoking 2 packs of cigarettes a day, and it just hadn't crossed my mind for the first 5 years.
Oh, yeah. Because you were so sick with that.
Alcohol.
Yeah.
I couldn't pay
Yeah.
attention to cigarettes. I couldn't.
Oh,
And I liked smoking. But it made me feel bad,
Oh, yeah. There's no time frame.
No time.
No
frame.
time frame.
It's God's time frame.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
If you want to make God laugh, show him your timetable.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
So this is really tricky, tricky because you don't believe in God
At the time.
at the time.
Well, when I first came in, I didn't believe in
Yeah,
it.
you
First day.
Yeah.
First
First day
day.
is just hola,
The
there you are.
Second day, which was a year later, I changed my mind.
Yeah.
I would believe in anything. Just help me.
Oh,
Just
okay.
Help me. Yeah, anything.
So in your experience, you don't believe in God.
No.
This is the tricky part. Which one is harder to sink in what AA's message? The people who already believe in God, or the people who don't believe in God?
That's a good question, and there's different people have different experiences, and so.
By the way, we're gonna talk about God in the future videos. We always hear about you, like, if your life is unmanageable, then there's something wrong.
That's right. That's right.
So if your life is unmanageable, wrong.
There's a reason.
Yeah, there's a reason. So we're gonna talk about your personal experiences because you got a lot of addictions.
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
So you got 22 addictions and you tackled it.
I did, one at a time.
Yeah, one at a time.
Yeah.
So how did you tackle that 22 addictions? And you said, go first, the killing machine, the
That's right.
first that kills you.
The one that kills you the fastest.
Yeah, the
that's the one you go
fastest.
for. That's
Yeah,
right.
and then the second
right.
one is,
That's right.
you know, you got 22 addictions and you tackled it. How did you maintain it?
Well, obtaining it, getting it was one thing, and maintaining it was a little different. But the way most people obtain or get sobriety is they go to meetings. Go to meetings where other people who have similar experiences can talk about it, like you and I are talking about it now.
Yeah, yeah.
Because if people can talk, if I can talk about what's going on, I'm not afraid and alone and in the dark anymore. I'm in a group, and the group is a power greater than me, and that gives me the power to stop.
Yeah.
And so that's probably the best thing to do. Once you realize you might have a problem,
Yeah.
go to a meeting.
Yeah.
That's the first thing. Just start going to meetings where like-minded people, with me, it was people who wanted to stop drinking, and go
Yeah.
there and talk to them and listen to them.
Do you feel uncomfortable sharing your, you know, your addiction?
Well,
Or-
yeah, really, the first 5 years, I only spoke maybe 5 or 6 times.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Really?
And even then, I was so nervous, I probably just sounded like a psychopath. I was,
Oh, really?
I was really frightened.
Oh.
And so I didn't talk much. I just went to the meetings, which is not the best idea. If you can get in there and start talking, just start talking.
Yeah.
But I was just too scared for the first 5 or 6 years.
Mm.
And so I just listened, and it helped.
Oh.
But then, 5 years in, I started talking. So you can just go there and listen. You don't have to say anything. You don't have to say your name. You can just go in there. They don't charge you anything. You can just sit in there and listen for an hour and go home.
In yourself, how did you find out, you know, wow, I'm addicted to this alcohol or whatever substances
Yeah.
you take in? So how did you say, oh my God, I got an addiction?
Yeah.
But how
Yeah.
did you,
When I had that moment of clarity.
yeah, how did you determine that, oh my God, I have an addiction?
On December 26th of 1981, I was lying on the floor of my trumpet player's nasty apartment, and we had gotten drunk all the night before. And my first wife, and all my exes live in Texas, my first wife was Catholic, and she had lots of family, and they all come from all across the country to be together on the 26th. And I was drunk, and I missed it. I just missed this. 50 people come from all over America.
Oh my.
And it dawned on me. It hit me that I was selfish.
Mm.
That what I was doing was hurting other people. And it never crossed my mind. Up until that point, I figured, it's my business.
Yeah.
If I'm drinking, it's not hurting anybody. If I'm
Yeah.
hurting me, that's my problem.
Yeah, yeah,
And it's just leave me alone. It's none of your business.
yeah.
But I had this awakening like, oh my God, Steve, you're hurting other people with what you're doing. And I thought, you need some help. And so I went the next day.
Wow.
I joined
Wow.
back up, and that's when I went back in and said, sign me up.
Oh.
I'm in.
How long is your sobriety now?
My AA sobriety from not drinking is 33 years.
33 years,
Yeah.
and then there's your second killing machine.
Well, there's a lot of
Yeah, but that's the
killing
second
machines. The next one the one that was most prevalent was one thing, but the one that I stopped next was smoking, because that was, my mother died from smoking cigarettes.
So you got
Smoking was next for me.
history.
Yeah, and my brother, who at this very moment, time of this video, he's dying from emphysema too. So I have a history in my family of people dying from smoking. And so that was the second thing I looked at.
Yeah. So 33 of sobriety.
Yeah.
Okay, now you got 33 of sobriety. Woohoo!
That's good. That's good. One day at a time.
Yeah.
Well, see, I came in 40 years ago,
Okay.
and then I didn't drink for 5 or 6 years, and then I drank one night. Some girl broke my heart. Can you imagine? Oh, it's me. And so, and all this self-pity and stuff, I went out and drank, and then I had to go back to AA and say, well, I had a drink last night, and then I had to start over.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And AA teaches you the humility
They
to say,
did.
because 5 years, that's a long,
It's a long time.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
And so I had to, so I drank, so 5.5 years, and then I drank, and then I had to go back and start over, and that was 33 years ago.
That's very nice.
Yeah, it was.
There's a lot of questions that I wanted to ask you. if you say your sobriety, like, I get 33 years, and it sounds a little bit braggy. Why you counted your days or years?
There's that's a good point. When you have sobriety, you don't use it to lord over people or shame or control people. You don't make people feel bad. What you want to do is to be an inspiration, if possible, to say that if I can do this, St. Francis, who we named St. Francisco after, said if God can work through me, he can work through anyone. And what you want to be able to say is, look, if I can get sober, anybody can get sober. That's the message you want to pass on to people.
So it's not about bragging.
No, it's what we say. It's more God's success than mine. Because clearly I couldn't do it by myself, or I wouldn't be in AA.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's really, it's much more God's credit. I mean, I had to do my part. It's kind of like I do 1%, God does 99.
Yeah.
So it's more it's like the Bible says, let those who brag that you know about me. And so if anything, the sobriety is about God's power.
God's grace that you have.
Not how smart and cool I am.
Yeah.
Because clearly smart and cool didn't do me much good.
Yeah, that's true.
That wasn't helpful at all.
Yeah, you know what? How many years we are together? Like
we've been together for 4 years.
Yeah, 2017.
But we've known each other 9 years.
Yeah, we're together 4 years.
Last May.
Yeah, and we stayed together like 24/7.
24/7, except for 5 days when you didn't see your parents. That's
Yeah. And I saw him a lot, like every day, going to meetings. And I will talk that in another video about, our partnership. I no knowledge at all about 12 Steps program.
But now you go to meetings all the time with me.
Yeah. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it,
Routine.
Yeah. We'll talk about it, how we deal each other, especially the first year.
Yeah.
First year of being with you, the 12 Steps.
That had to be a challenge.
Don't
get me started.
You started, the video will be like 2 hours. Yeah. But we'll talk about it, We'll talk about it,
It's been wonderful. I just want everybody to know it's been wonderful being with Miss Alona.
Yeah.
That's been one of the great gifts of sobriety, really, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll talk about it.
Let's say one thing about it. They say, if you want to know who somebody is, look at who they're with. And when you look at me and you see that I'm with her, that tells you all you need to know about me.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I always say that it's so different, like same feather flocks together.
Same feather flocks together, that's right.
But that's not really
that's
the
close
thing.
enough.
Close enough. And you always bully me. Sometimes I forget the questions that I wanted to ask you, so bear with me.
Why do that? I'll straighten up our picture.
Okay. You know what? You got so many addictions that a person could have.
Yeah.
What do you think that causes it?
The greatest exacerbator to having more addictions is childhood experiences, specifically childhood abuse, whether it's sexual abuse, physical neglect, emotional abuse, or emotional neglect. Those 6 things, the amount of that and the frequency and the duration of that increase dramatically the number of addictions you have. The greater the child abuse, the more addiction you have. Absolutely. Yeah.
So the more fucked up you are, the more
fucked up you were.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So it is really,
It's a direct correlation between those two things.
Yes.
Viktor Frankl, who wrote a wonderful book called Logos Therapy, he was a member of Auschwitz in the Nazi German concentration camp in the Second World War, said that it's easier for people to survive Auschwitz than it is for children to survive childhood abuse, because with adults, at least people who are, killing you, they're doing something wrong. With children, they don't know. They have no idea, and so they can't discern. They can't delineate, and they can't protect themselves, of course. So yeah, it's a tragic thing. Believe me, it's not just me either. There are very, very many people who have these kinds of things.
Yeah.
And that's why we have so much addiction in the world. That's the greatest contributor. It's not the only factor, but it's the greatest
Yeah, that's the
exacerbate.
yeah.
Yeah,
This
yes.
the first
Yeah,
and the biggest contributor.
that's right to it. Yeah,
Yeah. Oh, that's very sad.
it is sad,
Yeah, it's very sad.
but there's a way to get through it.
Yeah, we cannot really like judge other people's behavior because it's not about them. It's about the past experiences
Right.
that they, either inherited or or exposed.
That's right. Everybody starts in a different place.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. The more wounded you are, the more you have to take care of it.
Yeah, to deal
The
with it.
deeper
Hmm.
you get it, it's really heartbreaking.
It is.
But I believe because nobody's perfect. So the parents or the school is not perfect.
No.
So everyone is having, abuses, But I think that how you deal with it,
Right.
how you respond to
How
it.
you respond to it.
Because I am also an abused.
Yes, I know.
Yeah,
And the way you responded to it was dramatically courageous.
yeah,
And as with me, it was the same
Yeah.
thing.
yeah. We have different path.
Very different
Yeah.
types of abuse, but
Yeah.
the way we responded
Yeah.
was identical. And
Yeah.
I really believe that's what we found so attractive about each other 9 years
Yeah,
ago,
we'll talk about it in the other time
Yeah.
about
is the way we overcame our respective
Yeah.
abuses courageously
yeah.
and
Yeah.
successfully. That's
Yeah.
what it was.
So okay, now let's move on. It's nice to talk to you about this.
Mhm.
It's very very good. Yeah. By the way, we have a prayer call. It's like is it 5 times a day or 6 times?
6 times a day.
6 times a day, every 3 hours, and you attended how many meetings?
I go to 5 a day,
So 5 meetings a day, and I also
but only
attended-
15 minutes long.
Yeah, 15 minutes long. Yeah, and I also attended one of it
Yeah.
regularly.
Yeah, you lead the 6 a.m.
Yeah, 6
And
a.m.
often
And I will
participate throughout the day.
and I will talk that more in the other video
Yeah.
about me and you just together.
Yeah.
But for now, we're talking about you.
Oh, okay. Me.
How do you feel? After a long sobriety, how do you feel? When it comes to life itself,
I think
compared to
compared, Oh,
comparison.
there's no comparison. Getting up every day and being hungover till 2 in the afternoon and just wanting to die until you're 2 o'clock. And then at 2 o'clock, things start getting better. And by 5, you've completely forgotten how bad you feel. It's time for another drink. That was hell. That was really hell. Now it's much better. I feel calm and reasonable. I feel useful to people. I feel respectful of people and myself, and I spend time being prayerful, and laughing with our son. We have a 22-month-old son.
Yeah.
He occupies a lot of our light and sunshine and time and energy.
Yeah.
So my life is real simple, but it was like that first moment when I realized I had been selfish to my first wife and her family. My life's not like that. I don't have a selfish life anymore. And that makes me feel good, not brag, but self-esteem. I feel good about myself to know that my life is about unselfishness and service to others. That feels good.
Yeah.
That feels really comfortable. When I first started, they would let you smoke in the meetings.
Oh, good.
And I'd smoke 3 cigarettes during an hour, and they'd let you drink coffee. They'd had cupcakes and cookies and pretty girls. I thought, man, this is great. And so I just kind of barely got through it.
That makes you motivated to go.
Motivated to go. Yeah.
Well, it's better than
Better than drinking.
Yeah, I know.
Better than drinking.
I know.
But they stopped letting people smoke in AA. I don't know, maybe 20 years ago. But I don't know that I could have gotten sober if they wouldn't have let me smoke when I started. I was pretty addicted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
I'm glad they were liberal back then.
yeah. 6 meetings a day is too much, right? If you think about it.
6 meetings,
Yeah, 6 meetings a day is too much. But
but they're only 15 minutes.
yeah, 15 minutes. In prayer call, we always check in our feelings and check out. Why you put it that way? Like why you
do we do that?
Why you do that?
Well, when 12-step was started in June 10th of 1935, what they believed was that selfishness, self-centeredness was the reason people drank. And so they wanted you to go out and be of service, and that was their solution. That's what they thought the problem was, and that was the solution, and that works. But then, about 50 years later, as 12-step developed in the late 80s, another theory came up, and the theory was not about selfishness, but that an inability to feel how you actually felt and wanting to change how you felt was the cause of addiction. So, like if you feel needy or sad or hurt or lonely or raging or bitter or paranoid, if you drink, then you're changing that feeling. But if you don't drink and sit with the feeling and share it with people, the feelings pass. So it was a different model, different paradigm. And so that's the paradigm that we use, so we want to encourage you to share how you feel when you come in, and 15 minutes later, share how you feel, so that you get used to just feeling how you feel in your life that God has given you. So that's the model. We use the unselfishness model too, but we also use the more updated, contemporaneous view about feelings. That's the reason we do it.
That's a very good idea.
Yeah, it works pretty good. It also it has some really great sideband benefits, like to be emotionally close to you, which is important to me. I have to have my feelings so I can share them, and you with me. So it helps in relationships too.
Yeah, but sometimes when I get mad, I don't want to share my feelings.
That's true.
So no, I don't feel okay.
Yeah, when we're fighting, I always want to know how you're feeling.
Yeah, I don't want to.
Sometimes you don't want to talk.
No.
I don't want to talk.
No, I don't want. What if I say, I feel like I want to kill you, strangle you?
No, when you're mad, I say, how you feel? And you say, I feel fine. She's lying.
You know already.
So I just wait till get you ready to share.
Yeah.
And then we do it. We know how to connect.
Yeah. That's really cool.
Yeah.
I love it. We're gonna talk that.
Yeah.
In the next video, because that's really.
Because I just talked the leg off a dog, and sometimes you just you don't feel like wanting to talk. You want to sit with it.
Yeah, sit with it. Internalize what I feel.
Yeah.
Because sometimes especially when you're raging, when you're really angry, you can say
Hurtful
the worst. Worst word you can find just to express how you feel.
Yeah.
And how angry you are, and you want to hurt somebody, and then it will pass.
Yeah.
I read something that feelings is like clouds; they just come and go.
That's right.
So if you act on that feeling, like anger, and you want me to talk, so I might talk something bad so that I can hurt you because I feel hurt. So I don't want
what
that.
you said, I think, is crucial. Feelings come and go, and if you act on them, that can be problematic. What we want to do is feel our feelings and just feel them, so that we know honestly how we are emotionally, and then you can decide. Just acting on feelings. If I just acted on feelings, I'd be carrying a machine gun, shooting people down that disagreed with me.
That's really true.
Let's just be a crazy person.
That's really true. If you act out how you feel.
That's selfish in the extreme.
It's also extreme. And if you want also to take it out, change it like quickly, like a miracle, or dull it out, just go, drinking. It's fun talking with you.
It's good talking to you. We'll talk again.
No, not yet.
Not yet. We're not done talking.
We're not done yet.
I need to use yours.
No. Okay.
Right.